Today, we've got an ancient mystery that has puzzled people for over 4,500 years. It's about an ancient civilization that was so smart and advanced that they built cities with systems that we use today.
And this ancient puzzle now has a pretty huge bounty. We need to travel back in time to understand the Indus Valley Civilization for this story.
So yes, let's take that journey back in time to somewhere around 3,300 to 2,600 BCE. Now, BCE stands for Before Common Era.
What's the difference between BC and BCE though?
So BC is before Christ and BCE is before Common Era, pretty much the same thing. You're just measuring time in terms of, when Jesus was born, according to the calendars that were used at that time. With this time period that we're talking about, this is 5,300 years ago, give or take.
Wow. That's crazy. And I think the Indus Valley Civilization, if you think about it from a map perspective, it is northwest of India. So, what today is Western Uttar Pradesh, and it goes all the way up to Kashmir. It encapsulates Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Gujarat as well, right? So it was a pretty big land mass and area.
Yeah, on the map, it looks like a big C with a little tail at the bottom. So it was a huge civilization that existed many, many years ago, a bustling city with, beautifully planned streets, brick houses. They had a drainage system which was extremely modern and advanced for their time to carry all their waste away. So very, very well-run city.
The people of the Indus Valley were actually also amazing artists and creative folk, right? So pottery and jewelry and toys for kids. And they were also very big on the barter system, where they would exchange beads, shells, metals for products and other produce. So it was a very interesting civilization.
Yeah, so an ancient civilization which existed over 5,000 years ago. And all of this, we know this today, is because of one guy, this archaeologist. An archaeologist, basically somebody who digs up old sites, historical sites, to find things that existed way, way, way back.
I always wanted to be an archaeologist growing up. It was a very cool thought or profession. No?
Very cool profession.
Indiana
a lot
Jones.
of hard work. Yes, Indiana Jones. Exactly. So this was way back in the 1920s. An archaeologist called Sir John Marshall who discovered the Indus Valley Civilization. But what makes this civilization so mysterious that no other documented proof existed which spoke about these people, right? Normally, if for something to be historical, you have to have some kind of record, right? Some kind of historical record written by ancient historians, ancient people, documenting or talking about, what they did with these people, whether there was trade, etc. But in the case of this particular civilization, there was nothing that existed.
It's actually weird, right? So everything that we know or we assume to know about this civilization is just basically what was found underground, right?
Yeah,
Someone actually dug it out and made sense of it. And this included everything from implements what they had built, tools and arrows, and there were fossils of fish and plants that were, discovered. So it's kind of weird if you think about it. We don't know anything about this. We've made a lot of assumptions from what we've dug. There were, tablets. Obviously, when we talk about tablets in those days, it's not your iPads, but it's basically, it's stone on which things have been written or carved out or drawn. And so those were found as well. But it's really interesting. We haven't been able to get anything from a written perspective. And I think that's the crux of the story this week as well.
Yeah. In fact, the modern day tablet is actually kind of named after the ancient tablet, because they were these rectangular, blocks of stone or clay or, pottery. And people used to engrave things on these things, right?
Yeah.
And there were 600 of these seals and tablets that were found across different sites of the Indus Valley Civilization. But whatever was written on these tablets, this writing system, which is called the Indus Valley script, nobody has been able to decode or decipher what they mean.
Wow.
It's been thousands of years, but we still don't know what those images mean. Go look it up, Google it, find those pictures. They look like little fish, there'll be arrows and different things, but nobody has been able to understand what it means.
And I think that's the fun part, right? Where now the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, M.K. Stalin, he has offered a $1 million reward to anyone who can decipher it, who can understand it, and who can actually make sense of all of that. All of those emoticons, all of those emojis, whatever was on those tablets, what was discovered in Indus Valley. And $1 million is a huge amount of money. It's about 8.5, 9 crores maybe in Indian rupees. So that's a lot of money. But why is Stalin so interested in decoding this Indus Valley script?
We're going to go into that in just a bit. But before we do that, it's my favorite part of every episode, which is quiz time.
Woohoo! And this one is again going to be a listener question, because in the last episode, we had Sarayu come in with the right answer and win herself a gift voucher. Congrats, Sarayu.
Yay! Congratulations, Sarayu.
This time, it's perhaps your chance to win.
So the question for this episode is, what are the names of 2 famous cities from the Indus Valley Civilization? I'm going to give you options. Option 1, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Option 2, Athens and Sparta. Option 3, Rome and Pompeii.
Ooh, okay. This should be an easy one. So let's see who gets the answer right.
Yes, send in your answers. What you need to do is just go to our website, which is www.takarokids.com, or get your parents to, send in your responses on Instagram.
And one lucky winner will get that gift certificate.
Okay,
now back to the script mystery.
Back to the script mystery. Now, so many years, the question that arises is, one, why has no one been able to decipher this script, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that is fairly straightforward. It's because the symbols that they use don't look anything like any of the alphabets we use today across languages, right? Like you were saying, Kiran, they look more like pictures or logos, like little emojis. And the other thing is, across these 600 seals and tablets that were found, most of the texts are super, super short. So just 4 or 5 symbols clubbed together, right? So that's why I think, we've not been able to decode what those tablets are saying.
There is another civilization as well, right? Which used a lot of symbols instead of, a script per se. And instead of kind of alphabets that we have. Which was that civilization, Debbie?
It's a very, very famous civilization. I know most of our listeners will know this. A symbol-based language was used by the Egyptian civilization, right? Yeah. And we managed to read that. They used to use hieroglyphs to, denote different emotions and sounds and words. So that's the other famous language that we deciphered.
But the reason we could decipher it is because of a very important piece called the Rosetta Stone, right? Which was basically almost kind of giving you the cheat code to understand it, what each thing meant. Because they also wrote what each hieroglyphic or each symbol meant in Egyptian and Greek as well. So people could understand what it meant, which was very smart. I mean, I think it was a very clever way of making sure that even though you had a secret language or you had created a language, you also had a sort of cheat code so that others could understand it.
Yeah, and we got really, really lucky when we found the Rosetta Stone. You should look that up too. It's a huge block of stone where you have 3 different languages, the same thing translated into other languages, basically Greek and 2 forms of Egyptian. And that helped archaeologists and historians understand what was written on all those walls and inside the pyramids. But we don't have that, unfortunately, for the Indus Valley Civilization. And without that, we don't have anything to go on. In fact, you would imagine that after all this technology that we have today, we have AI as well. Why can't we use this to find patterns and kind of decipher it? It's because there is no background. There is no example to compare this language to, and that's where we're getting stuck.
And I think that's what's if we try and bring back Stalin and the $1 million prize, and why Tamil Nadu is interested in the Indus Valley civilization, because if you think about it, look at the map, it's in 2 very different directions of India and Asia. But what is interesting is that they've started seeing some connections. Both Tamil Nadu and Indus Valley Civilization had very similar styles in pottery. Bulls and cows were really, really important from a economic and social perspective. They buried their dead in almost the same way. And there are many other sort of similarities, beads and, trading the way it was done in the Indus Valley has also been found in Tamil Nadu. So now Tamil Nadu has taken the lead to say, I'm going to find someone who can possibly decode this.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this recent study that has come out that Stalin was actually talking about was, drawing these parallels between what has been found in dig sites in Tamil Nadu, comparing them to the Indus Valley. In fact, these similarities, the Chief Minister believes, prove that there's a link between Indus Valley and Tamil culture. So by actually studying the script, he's hoping to show how important Tamil culture is to India's history.
That's pretty cool. Because they also say that, the Dravidians who are linked to the Tamil culture and the South Indian culture in a big way, they may have actually lived in the Indus Valley before maybe the Aryans came in from the European side of the world, right? Yeah. What is today the European side of the world? Obviously, at that point, there was no Europe. But yeah, it's actually fascinating because it's super exciting. And if someone's actually able to decode this because of the prize money, I think it would be amazing because what will come out of it is a lot more of, understanding a period where they've done so many amazing things like tools and implements and, like we said, trading. It was one of the first civilizations as well from a human evolution perspective. So
yeah, and this entire story is so integral to, who we are as a people, our identity and our culture, right? Because ultimately, if we can trace back, it gives us such an insight into, why we are and where we are today, right? Very, very exciting times. All of you who are listening in, if you're into ciphers and codes and puzzles, keep at it. Because you never know. Some people have a special skill for deciphering things. So maybe one of our listeners could grow up to actually win this prize money and many others, if there are other unknown mysteries that need solving.
Yeah. And not all our listeners are young kids. There could be grown-ups who are listening as well, who could also participate. So be the kid and try and decipher this. I think it'll be super fun.
The modern day Indiana Jones. Come on.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. So once again, before you decipher that $1 million prize money, go and decipher the answer to our quiz question and send us that as a first step. You'll get a gift card to help you along the way. So as always, website is
www.takarokids.com. I will repeat the question once for our listeners, so you don't have to go back and listen to it again. What are the names of two famous cities from the Indus Valley Civilization? Option 1, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Option 2, Athens and Sparta. Option 3, Rome and Pompeii.
And until next week, bye-bye.
Goodbye.